And Premier Doug Ford and Manitoba Premier Kinew are signing a memorandum of understanding this morning at Queen's Park. We take you there live for that announcement.
I'll give you counseling after this. As you all know, the last month of our government introduced the Protect Ontario Through Free Trade Within Canada Act. In fact, it was the first piece of legislation we introduced following the election in February. The reason for this is simple. Supporting real free trade within Canada is one of the best ways to grow our economy, support our workers, unify our country, and protect Ontario. Yet right now, interprovincial trade barriers are costing our national economy up to $200 billion every year and increasing the cost of everyday goods and services by up to nearly 15%. In fact, like President Trump's tariffs, they divide us and hold back our economy. We can no longer afford to let this happen. With President Trump's tariffs taking direct aim at Canada, we need to do everything in our power to unleash our economy and create new opportunities for workers and businesses. We need to cut the red tape and make Ontario and Canada the most competitive place in the G7 to invest, create jobs, and do business. That's why we introduced our legislation to tear down internal trade barriers and make it easier for workers from other provinces to come and work right here in Ontario. And I'm proud to say that last month, Ontario became the first province in Canada to unconditionally remove all of our exceptions under the Canadian Free Trade Agreement. And we're doing even more. Last month, Premier Houston, I got to give Premier Houston a big shout out. I know he's traveling right now, stirring up business for Nova Scotia, but he's helping lead the way. And as well as Premier Holt from New Brunswick signed agreements here in Toronto to support free trade between their provinces and Ontario. And today, Premier Kinew and I will be signing our own agreement to unlock free trade between Manitoba and Ontario. Think of this. These are big numbers. Our two provinces already do approximately $19.5 billion of interprovincial trade every single year. But we can do better. As neighbors and partners within Canada, Ontario and Manitoba can lead the way by creating new opportunities for goods, services, and workers to move freely between our provinces. And that's what today's agreement will do to help all of us. I'm looking forward to working with Premier Kinew and all my fellow premiers to unlock free trade within Canada so we can build a stronger, more resilient economy that can stand up to tariffs and anything else that may come our way. I want to thank you and may God bless the people of Ontario. And I'll hand it over to my champ, Premier Kinew. Over to you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks so much, Premier Ford. I got to say, when I go to the hockey rinks and the farmers markets in Manitoba, people are talking about the job that you're doing with Team Canada. And people are so proud and happy to see the rallying around the flag effect right now. And so I'm very glad to be here to represent the people of Manitoba and to put pen to paper on the next stage of working together to build up our great country. We're knocking down trade barriers and we're building up Team Canada. Ontario, Manitoba, and everybody coming to the table. It's a great thing to see. We know that our country has been threatened, and it's been inspiring to see Canadians respond to these risks presented to our economy by saying, you know what, we want to take advantage of this opportunity and build Canada up to be even stronger, to have even more jobs, to have even more money being put into the wallets and the bank accounts of people right across this great land. And so I think we got a real window right now to do the big nation-building projects that have just been ideas for the past number of years. Now we can get shovels in the ground. And when we talk about putting people to work, the people with the hard hats and steel toes, the engineers and professionals, being able to work right across Canada, that is the opportunity that we're talking about here today. Of course, Premier Ford was talking about the $20 billion that flows back and forth across Manitoba and Ontario's borders. But where we live, it's about culture, it's about people, it's about a shared Canadian identity. Winnipeggers who vacation in Lake of the Woods, Ontario. I myself was born in Kenora before, of course, growing up in Manitoba. And so the ties that bind are so strong between Manitoba and Ontario. And when we look ahead to the future and we talk about building up this country's economy, I want Canadians to know that this is really about trust. When a Manitoban looks on TV and they see Premier Ford fighting the good fight on our behalf, it's because there's trust between our jurisdictions. And when an Ontarian looks to the Winnipeg Jets and sees us bringing home the President's Trophy, there's an element of trust there. And so the great nation-building project ahead of us is bringing the Stanley Cup home to Canada. And while we may not always agree on which team is the right one to fulfill that task, I think there's no dispute around the fact that we're all in this thing together. And when we're talking about health and safety, we're talking about making sure that people have the qualifications to get the job done right. There's that element of trust there too. We trust that somebody who gets a Red Seal in Ontario, somebody who gets a professional designation in Nova Scotia or New Brunswick, we trust that they're going to be able to do a great job if they come to Manitoba. And we can guarantee that you can trust us as well, too, that when we send our tradespeople, we send our engineers, we send our best to go work on a project here in Ontario, they're going to be able to get the job done right. Canadians elected us to do big things together, and so I'm very proud to be here with Premier Ford to put pen to paper on a deal to make our country stronger and to make sure Manitoba and Ontario are going to succeed for generations into the future. Miigwech, merci. Thank you very much.
Okay, are we signing or are we taking the questions first?
Stuff.
Okay. All right, signing. Okay.
Use the Sharpie?
Yeah, Sharpie.
Yeah.
I hear you like the Sharpie.
Oh, yeah.
Sharpie.
We're looking at live pictures with Ontario Premier Doug Ford and also Manitoba Premier Kinew signing a memorandum of understanding. And this is essentially to tear down some of the interprovincial trade barriers. These provinces are working together to protect workers and businesses by unlocking the free trade right across the country. And this actually follows another MOU that was recently signed in support of free trade with Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. And essentially, this is legislation to break down a lot of the barriers so that free trade of goods and services and the movement of these qualified in-demand workers throughout Canada to continue to produce good results for both economies.